Hello, Internet, and you amazing creatures of the beyond. Welcome back to the map, which is gonna be fantastic because I'm not showing it yet. Wait for it, wait for it. Ta-da! I got too carried away with doing it. It's so much fun. I mean, it's so cool. It's just so cool to do all of this stuff. And I've tried various experiments and techniques, and it's it's amazing. It's amazing. I just can't explain to you how amazing it is. The thing is that I've kind of rushed through some parts because it would require you a lot of laborious or tedious detailing if you want to get the best out of it. And what I've done here is child's play. It's basically nothing. But one thing to take into account is like this forest, in my opinion, is pretty well made because you see there's a lot of small curves. And then I added the tree legs or trunks or whatever it's called. Then I've done the same here, but then the lines became more loose, and here I totally lost my patience and I just did like something, something. Anyway, the point is that try to combine your shapes into one path because if you're having too many objects or too many paths on your display in your work project, it's gonna lag. So for example, these were borders, and I converted them to paths, and then I combined all of them into one path, so it's much easier to manipulate because these are gonna be static. You're not gonna play with this, and if you really want to play, you can still do it, but I would recommend removing it altogether and redoing it from scratch. And as you can see, it's just weird scribbles. You would think this is done in paint if you look closely, you know. But the point is, like, on a distance, it really gives that impression of a nice puffy forest. Then I got some hills here. Here is a nice volcano that I focused on. This is basically I used this type of mountain to go in front. Well, I clipped here by an unfortunate accident, but that's easy to solve. We just need to add a bit of paint over it, and if we want, well, we can leave it. It doesn't matter. It's our design. We can make as many mistakes as we wish. I left the placeholders because they give that impression of colored terrain. So I think the map looks more lively. And I've added some smoke here just for the fun of it. The only thing that I haven't created by hand was the text, and I'll link the font in the description down below. It's called, I think, Fashion Victim. I'll just link. I'll put the link down. And then there is one other thing. I'll show it in a moment. But let's go through some other stuff before we reach that part. Yeah. So I've added some cities. I could have added maybe a village over here, and created this road to reach there as well. And I've named just a few of them just for reference. Then I've done so many things I don't even know where to start and what to cover because there's just so many. Then I done this forest. I've done it manually with dead trees, and I've put here like I don't know, a wizard tower, an evil wizard tower. I know, classic and cliche. And I've done these two cities colored a bit different, and it's quite easy. I use the bucket paint to fill in the shapes, so I don't bother too much with stuff. It's sloppy, but the point is that it looks original. And then we have the decorations. And I call this Pandaria Liana. I know, not very original. But yeah, what can we do? What can we do? This was a lot of fun to do, this compass. It's not that complicated. You just do some circles and some triangles. You shape them and you put them in their position. And then I added these lines just for... I followed some tutorials. There is this channel called WASD20. And that guy covers a lot of guides on how to make your own fantasy maps. And I followed some of his guys to make this serpent. It's childish, but it looks nice. You can go into as much detail as possible. The other thing that I got was this silhouette of a ship, and I'll put the link for this ship as well in the description. It's copyright free, so don't worry about it. Then for the bridges, I did something very silly, like these two lines or brackets or whatever, and then I colored this spot like I can't select it like this, I put that place in whatever. You get what I mean. So I covered this to look like it's a continuation. Then I did the rivers. I removed those lines and I kind of gave them a more fluid thing. And then at the end here, I covered the exit with this because to interrupt the line so it doesn't look closed. So it kind of feels like you're connected to this shoreline. Then I've did this thing as well here with the lake and the river. So there are 3 bridges. For this, I just used a simple border, and then I went here and I set custom, and I set the distance between the dotted line to be 2. Simple, easy, and efficient. And if you think like there is a line, like for example, if let's say we have a continuation here, yeah. When you pull all of this, well, actually it's pulling from the other side. So if you pull over here, you see it's creating half of it or something like that. You can just drag as much as needed. So you have this dotted line uninterrupted. And then around the bridges, you just kind of shape them so they kind of give the impression that they're going over the bridge and not crisscrossing it or something inefficient or ugly. I've left some things like here could be like a swamp, here's like dead land. These are most set up here to symbolize ports or I don't know, trading routes or something like that. So it's a very simple island. Pandaria Liana. Pandaria Liana. Oh my god, what the heck is with my naming? Okay, one thing to take into account is let's see, placeholder. So I've labeled everything, including the decorations. But I want to show you something related to the mountains. And I only did this for the mountains, not for the hills or anything. Roads, bridges, volcano, forest, icons. There we go. So I've hidden the icons somewhere here. I've left this. I've left a copy of this as well. The point is, this one is actually the main path, and all of these are clones. So for example, if I go here and I say, well, maybe I want to make this, I don't know, thicker like this. Everything changes accordingly, you see? So that is a very cool way to do it. But unfortunately, there is a drawback. So for example, let's say you scaled the map to this size and you want to rescale it. Well, I'm just gonna make a new file. So let's say we have this shape here, yeah? I'm gonna Alt D instead of Control D to create um, the clone, you see. And if I want to create another clone, I have to do it from the original. I can do it from here as well. But the thing is that if I resize this, this gets resized. If I resize this, both of them get resized. But if you're moving things or coloring them, what the hell? Why can't I recolor? I don't know. Oh, it's not changing colors. That's weird. I didn't know that. So only the original can change the color. Interesting. Well, anyway, the point was that if I resize this, this is going to resize. If I resize this, there's no problem. But if you by any chance want to take this and you want to resize it after you made a bunch of these clones, like let's say I'm gonna make another clone of this. Now if I resize this, this is gonna resize that. But if I resize this, this is gonna resize this. So it's kind of child between child, child, child. If you want to link to the original, you just go to edit, clone, relink, select original, clone original plus, unlink clone recursively. And I think now if I do that, you see they're transformed into paths. But if I select them and I say edit clone relinked clone original path, no, edit clone relink to copied. I don't know. You have an option to relink to the original somehow. Maybe if I select edit clone relink to copy. Let's see. I don't know. Anyway, something like that. But the point is, the thing is that if you're going to resize everything, it's gonna be a problem. So you have it resized like this and you have this one. When you resize this, it's gonna create issues. So keep that in mind, especially when you're resizing an entire canvas, because maybe you don't want to keep this icon so huge if you want to do duplicates after it. It's a bit tricky. The alternative is to select this, copy it, and then select this, and then kind of do this. And this also works very well. You could increase the amount to, let's say, 100. Let's do the white to 1 maybe. And now if I'm gonna do this, you see it's closer. And you can change with the scale because the scale also differs. So it's easy to paint on something, and I'm using clones, but you can also create copies. The focus should be 1, scatter should be okay 20, but the important thing is using this prevent overlapping with the object and having these two things active in case you want to only go over visible or invisible areas or something like that. It's a really cool tool. So play around with it. Sometimes it can leave some weird gaps. Like if you're doing a very fast spray, it might leave like these huge gaps, and then you have to come back and try to complement with the gaps and so on. So be careful with that. Okay, so this is related to clones. What else did I want to cover? Oh yeah, when you're exporting, like this one is a very huge format, okay? So if I want to export, I would select only the border. And when I go to export, it will select these values up here. I modified them. So I put it to make it a bit smaller, and the DPI also goes smaller. You can increase this if you wish. And then it's much easier to resize an image, because if I would try to export this at these values, it's going to take a very long time. It might not even be supported by your operating system because the values are too humongous. But I didn't need to make it this huge, but I just wanted to zoom in easier so we don't have any issues with zooming or stuff like that. So it's just preference here. This one is extremely easy to do. You just do a shape, bam, 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 cut it out a bit. I mean, you do like this border and then you cut it out, and then you do the edges and cut in a little bit so it looks ancient. You can even add a texture. The world is your oyster, you know. Um, we can even create grass to complement some of the empty spaces. You can even play with colors here if you want to give in a bit more livelihood to it. The important thing is, like, when you're doing colors, try to do them as desaturated as possible. Find the balance there, because if you make them too strong, they're gonna pop up too hard. Like for the forest here, we could do it a little bit more desaturated, and then for these things we do some splashes of more saturated colors and blur them out, so it looks like um, sort of denivelation, or I don't know, like some trees are lower and some are higher, something like that. You can play with that. And here it also gives the impression that here there is some snow in the on the top of the mountains, on the peak of the mountains. You can also play with directly on the color, because this is the advantage of having a clone. You could technically fill in with color here and leave the top white, or paint it white as well. So you have something like that. We can actually try it. Let's see. Um, so if we go back to icons, and let's say we go in here and we do something, I don't know, something like this. Although I'm not sure, because I've cloned this path, so I would have, yeah, it's not gonna work. Technically, I would have to clone the group. So yeah, it's too late to do these modifications here. This is the original tree that I made. Something really silly, doesn't have to be awesome or crazy or very detailed. Uh, Again, these very simple lines just to give the impression of hills. You can even do them whatever color you wish. I chose yellowish, but it can be green or whatever. You can even add plots here. You can do however you wish. 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional. There's so many ways to go with this design. And you can even do the designs, the details much more smaller and much more denser, and then you can include so many elements and so many borders and oh, so many possibilities. I know I get a little bit too excited. Pandarialiana. Awesome. Awesome map. I'll upload it to G Drive so you guys can also play with it. And I hope you really enjoy it as much as I did. I know it's not super proficient and efficient, and I told you guys, if you really want to use a good professional tool that's also free for 10 maps or so, you can go to Incarnate. I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but I really found it a very amazing tool to do some very intricate designs and on the fly and super fast. So if you want to play like D&D or do a map for a game or something like that, highly recommend you try that one. So yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, guys, stay awesome. Thank you for watching, and catch you in the next episode. Bye 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 bye.